ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
Well, I got to tell you that the NOAA marine weather forecast heading into Labor Day weekend was trash, pure garbage. Winds forecast at less than 10 knots Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. My buttocks. We're going to have to start putting a disclaimer on any information coming out of NOAA, the weather information, the reporting, and of course, their recreational data collection as well. Warning, not to be used for boating and fishing purposes. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's Thursday, September 4th, 2025. We are post-Labor Day. I swear, I wish I had one of those old yellow t-shirts from the Long Beach Island area in the circa late 70s and early 80s. It's better in September. I remember it so vividly in my mind, but I think my Better in September t-shirt, along with my Freedom Surf Shop, they're probably, oh my God, well, long gone. But it truly is better in September, post-Labor Day. Case in point number one, beaches for the most part are free. Now, I can't say that every single town beach from Sandy Hook to Cape May is badgeless at this point, but overall, yes, indeed, you have free access to the beaches. So the beaches are back to just low-key, low pressure. And again, it's back to fishing. So first things first, let's turn our attention to the surf front and get our weekly report. Nick Honachesky every week does his Beach Talk column in the Fisherman magazine. It's either going to be in the monthly edition, this is September, we'll talk about this in a minute, or he does it in our weekly fishing reports at thefisherman.com. Nick Honachesky at Nick Honachesky, our salty old salt of the saltwater underground. Well, he was on the pompano this week. I know a lot of folks would rather catch big fish, but pompano is so much fun, beautiful fish. And yeah, pompano is edible. If you get a few of them, that's a nice little tasty morsel this time if you're in addition to kingfish, which you might also catch in the surf. But those post-tropical events, especially like we saw from the passing of Erin, will push a few more of those exotics into our local waters. We get pompano every year, typically at an Atlantic and Cape May County thing down along the Delaware coast, more and more in Southern Ocean County and Northern Ocean County. But if you want to have at some of these tasty saltwater panfish in the surf, a high-low rig baited with fish bites or bits of bloodworm or maybe clam, the high-low rigs, the pompano rigs as we used to call them. Pompano rigs, more of a shelf, a pegboard item that you'd find in Southern Ocean County, Atlantic, and Cape May County, but it's more of these panfish are making their move farther into North Jersey. I'm sure you can find those as well. Nick said the recent cool down at night, if you've been out at night, you know it's like sweatshirt weather by night, and then by day you got to strip down to the t-shirt. But the cool down has gotten a few species on the bite all the way around. Fluke fishing has really bounced back strong in the surf, according to Nick. Remember, you have until September 25th here in New Jersey to enjoy the summer flounder season. Also, sightings of false albacore and Spanish mackerel starting to pop up all around as the normal, what Nick said, the normal beasties of kingfish, spot, and croaker. He also said, Nick, in his report at Beach Talk, that you'll find at thefisherman.com, that we should be seeing more bluefish and stripers at this point with the cool down. I was actually fluking around on Sunday morning in the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay. Guy fishing live spot near me. He had a nice 24, 25-inch striper. So those stripers are on the feed now with that bait in back. At thefisherman.com this week, Phil at the tackle box in Hazlitt said the first reports of false albacore came in from Monmouth Beach all the way up to Sandy Hook. He said fluke were pretty thick off the North Beach at Sandy Hook for those live lining killies under bobbers. Look, if you're too embarrassed to use a bobber at this point because you're too mature, just do what the fly guys do. Call it a strike indicator. By the way, Phil and the boys at the Tackle Box are hosting the Box Bonanza this Saturday, September 6th. That's from 9 to 5. Buy one, get one free deals on 13 fishing rods while supplies last. You got Bluff Lures, gear by Buds and Bass, a rod giveaway by Pete's Elite, free t-shirts, also while supplies last. And the pork roll truck will be there as well. Not the Taylor ham truck, the pork roll truck. Kyle at Fisherman Supply and Point said there's some word about Spanish mackerel jumping outside the inlet area, and they may be pushing in closer to the beach at any point. And at any point during the day, pockets of them will move in and out. Again, one of the things I like to do is look for those terns flying over the surface of the water. If you see a hovering tern in front of you, they're usually sitting on bait. That's the time to throw some of those slim metals, the tsunami slim waves, the deadly dicks, maybe the exo jigs, any of the epoxy offerings. Look for those false albacore too, popping up now and then, especially with all this bait around. Adam Aguiar constantly rubbing my nose in the face that he's still playing around with the fish while I'm working. Yeah, you'll be going back to class soon enough, Adam. Look at that pile of bait. Beautiful looking bait there around the Manasquan Inlet area. So remember, you want to start matching the hatch as those speedsters come in and pile on the spearing, rainfish, bay anchovies, what have you. Greg at Fisherman's headquarters in Ship Bottom said there's been sheepshead colonizing the South Jetty rocks at Barnegat Inlet. Some big chunky fish to around 8 pounds or so have been eating crabs and sand fleas. Fluke continued to be the mainstay in the surf up and down LBI. We'll talk a little bit about the LBI fluke bite in just a bit. Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle in Brigantine said not only kingfish, spot, and croaker around to hit fish bites, but again, he mentioned pretty good sized pompano taken in the surf this week as well. You can also opt to cast sand fleas out if you want to specifically target those pompano. I mentioned bloodworms or clam strips, but those pompano are going to feed just like you would with a sheepshead. Not as big and toothy as those, but those sand fleas, those sand crabs, the mole crabs, a little bit of a softer shell, and those pompano will take them as well. Down into Cape May at Hands 2 Bait and Tackle in Cape May, word was that some weak fish up to 20 inches plus were gobbling up bloodworms off the jetties out front. Kingfish, of course, also hitting fish bites. There have been reports down that way of sheepshead taking on crabs and sand fleas off the Higbee's Beach jetties as well. Speaking of sheepshead, I mentioned last week some of these convict fish have been reported along the structure in Raritan Bay. And one of those people that reported in to us last week was Walt Fisher, who runs out of Staten Island. Well, Walt took his son Thomas back out again, I believe over the Labor Day weekend, and there they were, proceeded to catch another sheepshead somewhere along the Raritan Bay structure. So those fish are there. You do have that single blackfish limit, so if you get some green crabs or white leggers or shedder crab or calicos, just keep in mind, wherever you are on that demarcation line, the limits are going to be different in Staten Island versus New Jersey, so just be aware of where we are. One person who was up a little bit on that weird demarcation line, I know the Ildefonso boys are often targeting fish along the Hudson River, but from the New Jersey side. Pedro Ildefonso enjoyed the Labor Day weekend by catching his first keeper tog from shore of the 2025 fall season. In fact, even Dad Keith got in on the action as well, as the teacher becomes the student. Albies, false albacore, fat alberts, little tunny, they're on the move. In that August edition of the Fisherman magazine, the one with Mahi on the cover, Rob Crosley has a great article opening up on tips and tactics for getting onto those speedsters. So if you still have this one, in addition to your September edition, go back to it. But Rob told me over the weekend while fishing with his son, he said, quote, hasn't been great, but they are in small groups spread out up and down the coastline. Again, by beach or boat, keep an eye out for those fast-moving schools of albies blowing up on bait in one area, and then they disappear, and next thing you know, they're running down the beach, and you want to run around with all your gear, and a lot of times it's just a matter of waiting for them to return. Set yourself up in an ambush site, and if they appear down the road or down the beach a little bit, hopefully they'll come back at you. If you're on a run and gun trip or if you're on your kayak, you have a little bit better opportunity. But there's nothing more thrilling. Light tackle outfit and getting a false albacore, screaming that reel and dumping a line from the spool. Rob's article, like I said, it's in the August edition of the Fisherman magazine, which has been supplanted by the September edition of the Fisherman magazine. Back Bay striper on the cover, Lee Wakefield. I mentioned it last week. I'll mention it again because that's the time of year we are in. With all that bait stacking up in the back bays along the sod banks, the feeder creeks are dumping out more bait. So we are getting into that transition time with cooler nights. Dawn and dusk is a great time for looking for stripers out along those sedges and sod banks. Now, this month's lineup in the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition includes a look at the New Jersey salmon fishery by Bruce Litton. I mentioned kayak fishing for those silly fish, those funny fish, those hardtails. Scotty Thomas is in there, Dave Urell as well, the guys from Yakety Yak Kayaks in Seaside. You've also got Nick Simioli taking a look at how the changing conditions. We talk a little bit about climate change, but that's the fact. We look at warming waters and how the beach conditions change, and it's certainly going to be important for us to monitor what we're looking at this fall, right after the storms, those beach replenishment areas, and how that evolves over the fall season. Also, Jenny Ackerman spotlights the car toppers of Monmouth County and a little look back at traditions. Now, go to page 30, Backcountry Stripers, a spotlight by Captain Scott Newhall. Yes, it's time to Minn Kota your way along those sod banks and sedges looking for some light tackle striper action using those Yuzori 3D inshores, the Tsunami Coastal iPop poppers, the old-time Stillwater Smack It Juniors. And before I get those fish up on the sod banks, I like to fish some of those deeper holes with swim shads, where those fish are gonna, a lot of times they'll stage in a deeper water before they move up on the sedges. And then that's all in the local section. I haven't even touched on what you'll find in the glossy section.
The September glossy edition of the Fisherman magazine is out now. Dave Anderson's article, Day Trading, shares the mindset you need for daytime surf casting. Topwater yellowfin action is full of surface explosions and adrenaline, and Captain John Raguzzo shares his experience of plugging up tuna. There are lots of grip options when you're building a custom rod, and Matt Broderick has a great read on which one may be right for you. Curious about the history of artificials? John Tiedemann has the fascinating evolution from the beginning. Great note-keeping is the key to striped bass success, and good doctors like Adam Aguiar know the importance of detailed records. To get all this and more, be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. When you subscribe, you get 12 glossy print editions, 26 digital editions to your inbox, this past weekend's reports, full access to the website, and more. As a subscriber, you can also be part of the Dreamboat Challenge and win a new Steigercraft powered by Yamaha, and compete for a rigged-out kayak from Yak Attack. Subscribe now.
28th Shoretown Ballpark, JerseyBoatExpo.com.
Life is better with a boat.
No more sea bass until October, but porgy is back in play in the Garden State as of Labor Day Monday, September 1st. The return of the 30-fish bag limit and 10-inch size on the rest of the 2025 season and into the new year. I know several North Jersey boats in particular are heading out in search of porgy. I saw the Captain Bob aboard the Emptied. So the porgy fishery is a lot more robust in the northern part of the state of New Jersey, the New York Bight, particularly because of all that natural rocky structure you'll find up there. Now, cod, Atlantic cod, is also reopened as of September 1st, but the word I have is that this could very well be the last fall winter season of Atlantic cod for some time. So you want to have at that right now. By the way, the Paramount out of Brielle is running a 10.5-hour ling cod and winter flounder marathon every Tuesday and Wednesday, with full-day ling cod and winter flounder trips every Saturday and Sunday. That's through September 30th. And like I said, you want to get in on that cod fishery now. That is the best advice I can give you. Now, we are going to know more about this Thursday, September 4th, 5 p.m., when the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council meets at 5 p.m. At the Stafford Township Firehouse in Manahawk, and I expect an opening discussion on what's going on in 2026 with bluefish, black sea bass, porgy, fluke, and of course, striped bass. And yeah, they're probably going to discuss Atlantic cod a little bit more. So if you want details, you can go to thefisherman.com, look for that news brief. Go to Google, look up New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council. You'll find the meeting details because it's a hybrid. So you can go sit there in the firehouse like I usually do, or you can log in online to participate. Now, I will not be in attendance for Thursday's meeting in Stafford Township, so hopefully some folks can dial me in on what I missed. I'm almost always at these meetings, but I did tell Counselor Pat Donnelly as well as Counselor Bob Rush this week. I said, I got a choice. I can go to the fisheries meeting, or I can sit in section 25 of the link and watch my glorious Eagles beat down the Dallas Cowboys. Priorities. I touch upon this subject of my Thursday plans, fishing and football, in the editor's log in this week's digital edition of the Fisherman magazine. Yeah, 26 digital weekly editions online from April through November. Plus, this is also online, but your 12 monthly editions will also get delivered to your door. On that weekly cover this week, that's Lauren Hepplewhite with a nice tuna. And you look at those call-outs, the headlines, the albie run is underway. That's as of this Labor Day weekend. These are the reports from this past weekend. Sheepshead on the Raritan, and that continues. And the return of porgy, all things we have touched upon already this week in our report. Now, on the bluefin front, I consulted with various sources, friends of mine, people in the know, on how to address this situation and best explain how we got jammed up with this bluefin tuna closure. Now, my viewpoint has been criticized by some. A Facebook friend of mine, he's a friend of mine, but he's hard on this one. He said my article this week was a bit misleading, myopic, and not really correct. Yet, if there's any way of meeting the new coast-wide demand, because we have more bluefin, more tuna anglers, the only way we're going to get any more quota is if we shake a few more crumbs free from the international bargaining table that is ICAT. Now, ICAT is going to be meeting next in Madrid, and our diplomats are going to be there, and hopefully they're going to try to get some more bluefin tuna. I'm told you can't fight it. This is the way it is. Well, fear of failure, my friends, is no justification for failure to fight. And when Eastern Atlantic bluefin quotas get applied to Mediterranean fish farmers, when does the quota count? When they pull the bluefin out of the fish farm, or when the bluefin tuna travel across the ocean and go into the fish farm? They're catching up all the bluefin tuna, and they've got more quota. They've got it all in pens. And also, by the way, when did Japan get an Atlantic coastline? I'm not really up on this New World geography, but I don't think that's the case. That being said, Atlantic bluefin tuna for anglers is now a catch and release deal at this point. And that's according to NOAA Fisheries. Quote, during a closure, recreational fishermen may continue to catch and release or tag and release bluefin tuna of all sizes, subject to the requirements of the catch and release and tag and release programs. You want to be careful when you're catching and releasing bluefin tuna. Safe and healthy release is a very important topic, especially in that bluefin fishery. And on this week's Open Boat, Jenny Ackerman is taking a negative and turning it as positive as possible as she joins Captain Jerry Malanga to discuss how to handle the catch, release, and overall conservation of bluefin tuna for the future.
Welcome to this week's Open Boat. It's me, Jenny Ackerman, here with Captain Jerry Malanga of Eastbound Malanga and Shore Catch Charters. You know the name Shore Catch because Captain Jim Frieda is a contributor to the magazine. But we're talking about something really important here. You know, it's peak September season, and of course the doom and gloom with bluefin, you know, it really sucks to be honest, but guys can still go out and catch and release bluefin, and Jerry has been doing so, and he's going to give you a full scoop on why you should do it, how to properly do it, and to just get out there and go fishing.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, so this is a great time of year, fall, September, October, November. This is probably the height of our bait season, especially for bluefin and yellowfin. But being that the season's closed right now, we kind of have no option but to release them. So for guys like us and short catch, like we're all about the bite and the fish. It's not necessarily about trying to load the boat with dead ones and kill everything. We take the conservation and the catch and release seriously, and it's a great time of year to, one, fight big bluefin, either casting at them, jigging, hooking them on bait, but also it's a good time for, especially for kind of newer anglers or newer fishermen getting into the bluefin scene. It's a good learning experience on how to properly do it, because at the end of the day, you can't replace learning on the job or experience doing it.
Exactly, exactly. So Jerry has a tool here that's available at your local tackle shops. We're at the dock of Fisherman Supply here in Point Pleasant Beach that they've been using for the catch and release of these big bluefin. So you want to go over just basically the whole process from catching to basically like keeping the fish moving in the water with this fun thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you striped bass guys out there, if you've ever seen a boga grip to lift a striped bass, this is a boga grip on steroids. Italian company Pratico makes these. We got these a couple years ago, and it's simple. When you get the fish to the boat, it sounds simple when I explain this to you, but when you're doing it, it might be a little tougher, and I'm sure you'll see some of the videos. But once you get the fish tired and he's kind of laying up at the boat, you have somebody leader, and you'll have another guy on the boat there. One, you have a lever here, so you open, and that's for grabbing the fish at the lip. You want to try to get it right where his mouth opens, the bottom lip. And once you get it on there, you just let it go, hold it. You'll also tie a rope off here for an extra safety precaution. You don't get yanked in the water, you don't lose this. You can cleat that off as well. So what you're gonna do is grab the fish, hold them there, hold them at the boat side. You'll still have a guy on the leader just in case, depending on how green the fish is. Usually if you have the opportunity to get this in his mouth, he's kind of tired. So once you do, you're gonna take your hook out. You can either take we have like an old bent marlin gaff to lift the tail out of the water while you still have this in the lip. And then we'll put the boat in gear, swim the fish along the side of the boat till he starts to kind of color up again. You start stumping his tail. Once that happens, you're just opening the lip, shaking him out, and letting him go on his merry way.
Awesome. Yeah, we got a ton of video footage from you doing this, and then of course you've been posting it to social media. You were even on Fox News advocating for why are we getting basically, you know, the ones that are getting restricted with bluefin, because in my honest opinion, I think it's not fair. We shouldn't be restricting a fishery, and especially like for me, I want to go out there and get some too, but of course we can still catch and release. So a huge thank you to you, Jerry, for voicing the New Jersey captains out there and continuing with the huge, you know, conservation efforts for everything. You're not all about, you know, kill shots on the deck, you know, you release fish and all that. So huge shout out to you and all the guys at Shore Catch, you know, Gene and Jim and all them, and continue to keep on doing this. And hopefully, you know, fingers crossed in the near future, we can finally go back out and target bluefin. So fingers crossed, let's see what the fall brings, and continue to voice your thoughts to NOAA and beyond. Write them letters, you know, get on the news, why not? Like, talk to us about it. So hopefully we see some changes in the future. So stay tuned, catch them up, and I'll see you guys on next week's Open Boat.
Introducing the Yak Attack Sandrig Surf Cart, the ultimate beach hauler for serious anglers. Glide effortlessly over soft sand with wide balloon wheels and lightweight, corrosion-resistant construction that's completely customizable with options. Whether it's rods, coolers, or tackle, haul it all with ease. Built by surf fishermen and engineered by Yak Attack.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
So if you're looking to get offshore for tuna tiles and what remains of that absolutely phenomenal white marlin bite, the midweek forecast from NOAA Weather for the Hudson to Baltimore has a mix of 3 to 4s, 3 to 5s in the weekend ahead. Obviously, don't quote me on this. I'm just the messenger. In that offshore report this week that Tom P does every week, Tom P from Creekside Outfitters, Tom P from Rack and Fin Radio, Tom P from our offshore report, he pointed to the mud hole and the glory hole for mahi, although perhaps, as I'm learning, maybe the farms will do. Tom said some yellowfin at the Bacardi, longfin and big eye at the southwest corner of the Hudson Canyon. Now, white marlin action, as I said before, has been superb. Absolutely phenomenal. From the Hudson to the Poor Man's, with the Wilmington in particular, just a complete wide open in that white marlin fishery. Now, Jason from South Jersey Marina tells Tom P this week that in addition to the big eye at the Hudson, he says the areas along the Baltimore and the Wilmington are also paved with tile fish. So get on them. I just had, the other night, my family was in for the Labor Day weekend, and I pulled some tile fish out of the freezer from a trip that I had on Mushin a few weeks ago. Oh my God, that is the best fish. If you get a chance to go deep drop tile fishing, it's a lot of work, it's a pain, it's backbreaking, but it is so worth it. Fantastic eating fish. If you've never had it, I highly recommend. Now, inshore, the midweek dart in the dartboard from NOAA shows stiff southwesterlies on Friday, south on Saturday, and then north on Sunday. Don't forget, you want to bring in that doormat fluke that you catch. 10 pounds is a doormat. 8 pounds, I wouldn't call it a doormat unless you caught it in the surf, but a 10-pound or better fluke. But you got to bring in those big fluke and the other species of opportunity for the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. Or the Coastal Kayak Clash, for example. If you've got a kayak, now's the time to get on those hardtails, because that's the category where you can get on and win some prizes. The Dreamboat is a quest for a fully tricked out Steiger. And of course, you've got the grand prize of a new kayak in the Coastal Kayak Clash. For an update on both of those tournaments and a look at the leaderboard, let's go back to our virtual studio.
We start off the first week of September in the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge with an entry from New England subscriber from Coventry, Connecticut, Rich Turcotti, with a 8.16 fluke weighed in at AW Marine, placing him in 8th in the fluke category. This leaves the leaderboard at Rashawn Williams, still owning first place spot at 17 points. Thomas Luciano maintaining second with 16 points. Jeffrey Harrison holding third with 15 points. Are you the best angler in the Northeast? Well, now is your chance to prove it. The Fisherman's Dreamboat Contest is back. Win this Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha, along with these other great prizes. Fish hard and weigh in as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. What's the catch? You must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. All it takes is one fish on the board to win a great prize, so however you fish, you have a shot. For all the details and official rules, visit thefisherman.com.
After an extended layoff with no entries, the field of competitors came roaring back with 3 significant fish that had major implications at the top of the tournament. Dustin Stevens looked to extend his lead with a 22.5-inch bonito. That fish now leads the category. Rothanong nailed a 24.25-inch blackfish, which now sits atop the tautog division. And Eddie Roman blew us all away with this mammoth 30-inch fluke that now leads the fluke category by 3 inches. The leaderboard now looks like this. We have Rothanong and Eddie Roman in a virtual tie for second place, although Rotha's 49.75-inch striped bass definitively breaks the tie. And Dustin Stevens, despite being knocked down a rung in the fluke category, extends his tourney leading score to 10 total points.
Hey kayakers, the Fisherman's Coastal Kayak Clash contest is back. Win this fully outfitted Hobie Mirage Lynx kayak from Yak Attack, along with other great prizes. Catch and release as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. To enter, you must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, fish from a kayak, and document your catch. Many chances to win great prizes, so get out there on the water now and fish hard. To be part of the action, you must be a subscriber and register at thefisherman.com.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Some events to tell you about in the coming days. We've got striped bass hearings, tournaments. We've got a possible end of the opening day of trout season on lakes and ponds. We'll talk about that in about 2.5 minutes. But first, let's head out to Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania mountains, for an eagle-eye look at our freshwater update from George Shower, our Pocono outdoors guy.
Well, hey, Jim, 'tis the season, things are going to start picking up. I'm talking about our Eagles. They start off the season tonight against the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see how that rivalry goes, but good to see football back in session. Also, 'tis the season for some fall fishing, guys. We're post-Labor Day, and this is when a lot of the action really starts to heat up. Temperatures start falling. Air temperatures a little bit wonky yet, but water temperatures have been continuing to fall, getting much more favorable for some of those fish. I checked the Delaware this morning. It was about 67 degrees. Really great if you want to get into some smallmouth, some walleye. You want to get into some muskie maybe. A lot of holdover stripers around as well. So some really good options if you want to get out in the Delaware and get into some really, really good fishing this time of year. Now moving down South Jersey, we had Chris Hutchinson and son. Well, they were out hitting some of these crappies first thing in the morning. He said first light, the bite has been on fire. Him and his boy have been out getting several crappies each day right before school, and that's a good way to spend some time before you hit the books for sure. Now, I had a couple of guys check in all from around the area, and they're all hitting these stripers. I guess we can't get these guys away from the striper fishing, but Josh Velez down in Beltsville, he was checking in, said he's been getting on quite a bit lately. It's only going to improve, guys, as the fall goes on. We also had Keith Tucker up on Wallenpaupack. He got him a nice striper, and we also had Tommy Quebec get him out of Wallenpaupack as well. So some good striper fishing, guys. This time of year, they're going to start to chase bait back up in those shallow waters, especially in those feeder creeks. So lots of good options there for fall fishing. So lots to do, guys. Be sure you get out and get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
Now, in addition to that September 4th meeting at the New Jersey, for the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council in Manahawkin, next Wednesday the 10th, there's a Fish and Game Council meeting in Assunpink. That's the Central Region office for the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. The meeting kicks off at 6:30 p.m. The Central Region office is located at 1 Eldridge Road in Robbinsville. Now, among the modifications being proposed at the Fish and Game Council is adding 23 new waters to the spring trout stocking program, while also removing Colonial Lake in Lawrence Township and Neldon Brook in Stillwater Township. Now, the Fish and Game Council is also looking at eliminating the 3-week stocking closure on lakes and ponds in New Jersey. So basically, we're talking about no more opening day trout season at state lakes and ponds. I don't know, man. I think I have a problem with that. I think. We'll see what happens. I have talked to a couple of folks. Think, for example, about Spring Lake, right? The Shark River surf anglers spend those 3 weeks privately stocking Spring Lake with all of these trouts, with all these trout, jumbos too, so that all these kids can enjoy a free day of fishing on the opening day of trout season, and that is their bucket of fish. And after the event, anybody can have at them. But if you open the 3 weeks beforehand, right, then are those trout going to be around for the kids? And I'm sure there's other lakes and ponds as well. But again, that meeting is next week, next Wednesday, September 10th. I've had tickets to go see the Phillies and the Mets since the spring, so I'm not going to be there, but I will follow up afterwards with some friends and associates to see what comes out of that. But I will have a link to provide for you next week from our digital weekly edition, because even after the meeting, there is a comment period, a public comment period that goes into October. That's the same on the striped bass front. Now, it was late last week, we posted at thefisherman.com the series of public hearings which have been set by the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission for a proposal to reduce striped bass mortality by what, 12%, 18%? The reducing of our mortality rate, which will mean some type of closed season along the Atlantic coast. 2 regions, New England or North region, and a southern region from, let's say, Rhode Island or Connecticut down. But we're looking at a month or more of either no targeting or no harvest closures along the Atlantic coast. Potentially here in New Jersey, sometime during the fall fishery, December, November, or possibly parts of spring. We'll see. I'm not sure. You'll find the rundown of meetings and locations over at thefisherman.com. But here's the way it stands now. New Jersey is hosting their public hearing on Tuesday, September 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. Again, that's at the Stafford Township Firehouse. I will be at that meeting. That's followed by 2 meetings in New York, one out on Long Island in Kings Park, the other one in New Paltz, up the Hudson a bit. Delaware striper fishermen will convene on Thursday, September 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Little Creek Hunter Education Training Center. That's at 3018 Bayside Drive in Dover. Pennsylvanians, you have positions on the ASMFC as well. So when these decisions come down and you don't like them, don't yell at New Jersey exclusively, because you have an ASMFC rep too. And your meeting in Pennsylvania will be September 24th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Silver Lake Nature Center. That's at 1306 Bath Road in Bristol. So make sure you write these down. It's noted there at thefisherman.com. It's the lead story at thefisherman.com. And again, you have until October 3rd, 2025 to submit your comments. This slot size of 28 to 31 inches for striped bass, there's no way of reducing that, right? So that's why we're going to have to take days of fishing. But that slot limit, that narrow slot, has indeed changed the way many anglers fish for this iconic species. Recognizing that fact and to provide surfcasters with more options, the LBI Surf Fishing Classic, long known as the Derby, has begun their tournament season already. It started on August 30th. It typically doesn't start till October. But in addition to stripers, blues, and tog, and kingfish, your entry now gives you a chance to win cash on the beaches of LBI for fluke. So yeah, summer flounder was the consideration, saying it's really tough to check your time and hold a tournament based on striped bass alone. So this one was moving in it earlier to get that 25, 26 days or so of fluke fishing in. The LBI Surf Fishing Classic underway now through the end of November. You can register at any time, now until the end, at Surf City Bait and Tackle, Fisherman's Headquarters, or Jingles Bait and Tackle in Beach Haven. Get details at lbisfc.com. Find the ad in the September edition of the Fisherman magazine. Now across Little Egg Inlet, Beach Haven Inlet, over Wreck Inlet, we get into the town of Brigantine. Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle said the 2025 Fall Riptide Striper Derby, the Fall Derby, is underway as of Thursday, September 4th. He too has added a fifth division to allow more anglers more opportunities to catch. So it's stripers, bluefish, tog, kingfish, and now black drum. And we usually get a little run of those puppy drum down the beaches at this time of year. Where they go in the summer, I have no idea. They start in March, April in Great Bay, in May and June in Delaware Bay. They disappear, and now we're going to get them in the fall. Remember, in that Riptide Derby, you must have a valid Brigantine 4x4 permit along with a Riptide 2025 Fall Derby permit to drive the front beaches of Brigantine and be in the act of fishing. You also must abide by all Brigantine 4x4 rules and regulations. The police department there will be monitoring the beaches, so please play by the rules. Don't lose the privilege to enjoy what Brigantine, the Rock, has to offer. You get stopped by Riptide Bait and Tackle and get all the details. And look at the calendar. See if Andy still has the beach cars of Brigantine calendar. You'll see what happens when you don't abide by the rules. A lot of head boats and charter boats are capitalizing on the final days of fluke. You have until September 25th, but there are some jumbos still in play on the reefs and wrecks, and a few good fish closer in along the beaches and in the inlets. We did talk before Hurricane Aaron about the potential for some of these fluke to enter into the back bay to find respite from the storm. And once they get in there, they find all this bait. All indications are that's kind of been the case. In my one stretch in the upper Barnegat Bay, it's been nothing but smalls. But over on the Manasquan side, maybe the Barnegat Inlet side, or some of those inlets, Absecon Inlet, for example, in the inlets, you'll find better opportunities. But the best fluke action is out along the beaches, where you're going to lose some of those rigs. I saw a post on Wednesday as well from surfcaster George Bucci. Don't ask me to tell you where he was, because he ain't telling anybody. But somewhere in the wilds of South Jersey, he's already putting the plug to some of those backcountry striped bass. It is, in fact, better in September. That is until the first arriving striped bass, the migratory run, arrives in October, followed by the November blitzes. It's better in September until it gets betterer, and then finally bestest when the full run is on. Catch them up. I'll see you out there on Saturday. Water Boys on Friday in Red Bank. I'll be singing the Fisherman Blues. And of course, Thursday night, go Birds.